One of the proudest moments I've ever had in coaching is when you sent me both a picture and maybe a video or audio message explaining to me about how you filled in your blank check. Can you share sort of the origin of the blank check story and then the outcome of it? Because to me, it is the epitome of the work that we do together. And this is all about you. This is all about your purpose. This is all about being a positive force for good in the world. And for us to go from zero to what you're about to share warms my heart so much that I feel like everybody needs to hear this story.
Sure, and to be fair to you, Rob, you're very integral in the creation of this story. So it started with you and I having a call, and that day, or maybe it was the day before, my lawn, the folks I hired to do my lawn, who it's a guy who's my age with a family. He's been cutting my lawn for a decade. They happen to be outside, and I walked by them and had the thought, which I'm going to speculate that I wouldn't have had this thought without being about halfway through your program at the time. I thought to myself, you know what, it'd be really great and generous and helpful and all those declarations if I tip these guys. They've been working for me forever. I'm going to go inside and write them a check and come out and give it to the boss, Bruce, the owner of the company, the one I mentioned. And I came inside and started doing something else, thought about it again. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'll do it next time. And Rob loves to use the term bitch voice. It was definitely my bitch voice telling me not to do something, which there's absolutely no reason to not do it. I should have done it. And I shared that story with you. And we, not only did we discuss it, but we discussed how we could transform this into a negative that, hey, you didn't take action. That's a negative thing, into a positive. And we started just spitballing about it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to write the check now. I'm going to put it in my wallet. And the next time I see this guy, and his crew, I'm going to give it to him. And we kept talking about it. He's like, yeah. And Rob, you mentioned, oh, that's really cool. It's going to be in your wallet. You'll be thinking about it. And then I don't recall, maybe it was my idea. I don't remember whose idea it was. I don't think it matters. We came up with it together. But one of us said, well, what if I just had a blank check that I wrote out a dollar amount, signed it, everything ready to go, except the name of the person on the check. And we both decided it was a great idea, again, for the similar reason. You have this check in your pocket, in your wallet, and it's always there, kind of tugging at you in a very positive way, looking for somebody that calls to you for whatever reason to give that check to. And I took that really seriously. I went ahead and I wrote it. I immediately wrote the check for my lawn guy, and I immediately wrote the check for Jane Doe, who didn't know who this person was yet, as I'm not a believer in fate, but just as life would have it, the very next day I see the lawn guy and his crew driving away from the school that him and our kids both go to. I literally stop my car. It was on a side street. I jump out, I flag him down, and boom, I hand him the check right there through his driver's side window. I'm talking literally the next day. And I tell, hey, Bruce, meant to give this the other day. This is a tip. Please share it with your crew. I had written that on a check. He was extremely grateful about that. But I still have this other blank check in my wallet. So time passes. It took about 2 weeks for the opportunity to finally present itself to me. And I'd thought about it. And this is the great thing, because I'm sitting there, I'm at lunch by myself during a work day. I'm walking around a neighborhood. I'm at the grocery store. I'm at all these different places, a restaurant, and I see this person. I say, man, this could be a person, but no, this doesn't feel right yet. It doesn't feel right yet. I really want this to be impactful to somebody. And about 2 weeks into it, I was at the grocery store on a Monday morning, about 8:30. I generally do the grocery shopping in my family. And I'm there checking out in line, and I see a young woman with a baby and a little, baby carrier. So the kid was probably 6 months old, if maybe probably less. And I could see she was going into a different line, and I was paying attention immediately. So, part of Rob's program is increasing your awareness. I'm looking around constantly. I'm just observant. And Just thinking about who am I going to give this check to? How can I be grateful? Or excuse me, how can I be generous? I have a generosity game that I'm doing right now. 30-day challenge for that. I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about all this stuff. And I see this woman and I'm like, this is interesting. So I'm checking out and I realize by the nature of the groceries she's checking out and more specifically how she's interacting with the clerk that she is working for one of those Instacart type companies. She's shopping for somebody else, not for herself. And I think to myself, man, this woman's up early with a little baby by herself, working, probably not getting paid a lot. I don't know the dynamics of Instacart, but I'm just assuming that these gig workers, and now I'm starting thinking to myself, okay, this she could be the perfect candidate. Now I'm thinking to myself, hurry up, cashier in front of me. Like, let's get this stuff checked out. I don't want this woman to leave. Sure enough, she checks out before me, but then she goes over to the little Instacart area and starts putting the groceries in the little cubbies for somebody else to come pick up or whatever. And luckily, my cashier finishes checking me out, and I just had already made up my mind. So I walk over to the lady, and she's putting the bags there, and I just walk up to her, excuse me, ma'am, I have this check in my wallet. And I opened it up, the check, and I showed her so that she could see the money, and it was a fairly significant dollar value. And before I even finished talking, I said, I have this blank check in my wallet. Here it is. She looks at it, and she starts crying, tearing up. She just sensed what was happening. I continued to explain to her. I said, I've had this check in my wallet for about 2 weeks. I've been waiting for the perfect moment to deliver it to somebody. I see you're here by yourself. You're obviously working. You have a little baby. I'm sure you can use this money. I'd love to give it to you. What's your name? And she literally just broke down in tears. Again, I'm getting emotional right now. I was thinking about it. It was very powerful. And she just kept saying to herself, oh, thank you, God. Thank you, God. And you could tell that it was $100, but to this woman, it might as well have been $1,000. It might as well have been 50. I mean, so you put your number here. And she told me her name, and I wrote it down, and I handed it to her, and she was in tears, and we just hugged. We hugged each other. It was a great experience. And I walked away, and I told her, I'm not a religious guy, but I didn't know what else to say. I said, God bless you, and you have a great day. And it was extremely impactful, obviously, based on my reaction, something that will stick with me for forever. And reflecting back on it, you can look at it and say, man, $100 to me might not be a lot. $100 to you might be a lot. Maybe it's not. But bottom line, it was clearly a lot to her, and who knows what was going on in her life. You and I got to unpack it after, and all the different people it affected. Obviously me, my friends and family who I shared the story with, you, Rob, obviously the woman, Janaya, I believe is her name, her little baby, the other people in her family that needed that money probably desperately, all the people at Publix that saw it go down, and just how many dominoes fell in a positive way because of that experience. It was just it was a great, great thing, and I look forward to doing it again.
Phil, that just warms my heart so much because it speaks to the type of person you are. It speaks to your purpose statement, how you want to help other people. And what I love so much about that story going full circle is we started from a place of inaction. Ooh, I thought about the idea that I want to do this nice thing for my lawn guy, but I didn't do it. And it's something that we all experience every day or every week or at some point during our life. We see the opportunity to do something or help someone, but then life gets in the way. I need to shower, walk the dog, I've got a call, whatever it is. But you stuck through it and you did the internal work and you taught yourself the most beautiful lesson ever by actually doing it. And now we're sharing this with even more people. So that's what I love about this is oftentimes we can minimize the impact of just doing something nice for someone, but we don't sit there and say, well, how many other people is this going to positively impact on top of ourselves? And it's why one of the things that I love is you cannot give to others that which you are not experiencing yourself. So why do we create and cultivate love and generosity and helpfulness and all of these various things so that we can give it to others, because of course we do all of this personal growth to make ourselves better, because it's going to make our families better and our coworkers and our friends and all of that different stuff. But this is our opportunity to make the world a better place, one person at a time, one action at a time. And Phil, you've inspired me on this, because I'm never going to forget that story. And this is something, so you know, I collected this and I created a new folder. So we talked about creating a compliment file. I created a client success file. So the various things that you've done, from creating your jar of awesomeness to creating your compliment file to sharing this story of your check. And for me, I can go through there like my vision board, and I can relive the experiences that my clients have had and how they've been transformed, and how that allows me to then transform myself.